Happy Sonic Week! Sonic the Hedgehog released for the Mega Drive on the 23rd of June 1991, meaning this week saw the beloved Blue Blur turn 29. In celebration, not only did I play Sonic Forces for the first time for your amusement, but I figured I'd take a look back at the franchise and its ups and downs, and it's had a bit of a rough time a bit over the years, hasn't it? Despite widespread acclaim back in the Mega Drive era with a trilogy of solid classic platformers and a superb CD-ROM based spin-off, time has not been kind to Sega's mascot. Since shifting into 3D, the series has been all over the shop with review scores from the passable to the downright terrible. The series endures in part due to Sonic being designed from the ground up as a mascot, but also because it's managed to weather the storm and build a dedicated fanbase of endlessly disappointed yet nostalgically hopeful adults who grew up with the Mega Drive, and 12-year-old DeviantArt users who like to create their own original characters do not steal. And yet, it's never quite climbed to the heights of its 90s heyday, where Sonic was at the forefront of Sega threatening Nintendo's dominance. Why? With a series as long-running as this, there are bound to be missteps, but Sonic has had a troubled image. What have Sega done to prevent the series from reaching its original heights, and is there some way it could improve in future? Here are 6 things that Sega really need to think about as we sit 1 year away from the franchise's 30th year, or in short, here's why the Sonic franchise is bad. I can't do this alone, even though I am strong. The introduction of friends to Sonic was not a bad idea. Tails showed up in the second game and provided our hero with a plane and spin dashing in the wrong direction because his AI wasn't very good, but people liked Tails, and people still do. And then they added Knuckles, and he was fine too. He was a brash rival to Sonic, misled by Robotnik, and became an ally and then a playable character if you plugged his game into the top of Sonic 3. And these days he's a goofy meathead played by Travis Willingham, so what's not to like about Knuckles? And then Sonic Adventure happened, and that's where it all started to go wrong. Here's where the game expected you to play through with multiple characters. No one really objected to Tails and Knuckles, but Amy Rose upgrading from her role as the Girl Hedgehog in Sonic CD, and the presence of Bass Tournament Extreme with Duke Nukem the Cat were less welcome. But Sonic's cavalcade of friends didn't stop there. For several years, it didn't seem like a game went by without introducing friends aplenty. Some of them gained popularity, like cool Psychic Fire Wizard Blaze the Cat and brooding bad boy Shadow the Hedgehog. But for each of these was a Charmy Bee, an Espio the Chameleon, a Silver the Hedgehog, or the unfortunately named Cream the Rabbit. What's more, many of these get shoved into a player's face. No one wants to play a stupid cat who goes fishing. No one wants to awkwardly fling around physics objects as a white Sonic with Visual K hair. I don't even know who Chaotix are, but I don't like them. The more friends introduced to the series, the further the series drifted away from being a platformer about balancing speed and exploration. Or the more the games got padded out excessively with characters with less of the charm of the series' namesake. But it wasn't just the friends who did this. Sonic is a game about going very fast and using that speed to discover new routes through multi-tiered levels. So let's focus on that, shall we? No, shut up, let's add some new mechanics. The power of friendship is a game mechanic now. Sonic's a brawling werewolf now. Hey, what if Sonic had a sword? That's cool, right? So many distracting mechanics, so little time. Teamwork worked well, right up until it didn't. The Hedgehog slowed down the game so painfully in levels with wonky physics and tedious punching, designed to be endured until the good levels return. And as for the sword, it mainly just resulted in waggling a Wii remote around in hopes that maybe Sonic might do what you wanted. Sonic's identity crisis has stemmed from Sonic Team throwing everything at the wall in a desperate attempt to make something stick, often at the detriment of every other aspect of the game. Sonic the Hedgehog began life as a series where a brave, plucky young woodland creature sees his friends in danger and sets out to help them. In his quest, he takes on a mad scientist who's hurting nature and shoving small animals into robots as a power source? Brainwashed pilots? I don't know, it's never really explained. It was never going to win any literary prizes, but that was never the point. Sonic was designed to take on Mario and advertise the Mega Drive. His games were designed to get your attention and get you to say, "We put our faith in blast processing." So why, oh why, did the series decide it needed to start telling serious and edgy stories? From Sonic working with the US president to colossal world-ending cosmic horror, the games did everything they could to slap a serious and mature tone on everything. Even the concept of animals being stuffed into robot bodies was turned into a drama, with a scene where a robot overcomes its programming to free the tiny bird inside. The seriousness of course culminated in Shadow the Hedgehog, the self-proclaimed ultimate life form whose hobbies include rollerblading, self-loathing, and saying the name Maria. He even got his own game, and just to show how serious the series had gotten, Shadow had an arsenal of weapons that would make the NRA blush, and he said swears.
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?
Look, can we just admit once and for all that Serious Sonic is the worst Sonic? The franchise is conceptually a goofy Saturday morning cartoon, and it should maintain that tone rather than trying to question the meaning of existence through a hedgehog with a gun. And yet, for many years, that's what they tried to do. Serious stories for serious fans to show how much the series had matured. Mario was off still jumping and skipping around and yelling Wahoo! But here Sonic was appealing directly to the early 2000s Kerrang! Crowd. All three of these points affected Sonic in one way or another on their own, but then they all came together in one beautiful package. Sonic the Hedgehog (2006) is the stuff of legends, a notoriously bad game that gave Let's Players endless material, and has gone down in history as one of the worst games in a major franchise. But is it really all that bad? Why am I asking that question? Yes, of course it is. It's a train wreck. A game that was rushed out for the holiday season and a new console launch, riddled with bugs and showing obvious signs of being held together with spiderwebs and wishes. But even beyond the bugginess, this is a game that causes suffering by design. They added a new character, the terminally whiny Silver the Hedgehog, who brought his own gimmick of flinging objects around with telekinetic powers, and the story features an evil genie locked in a princess's tears, and there's also time travel involved. Sonic even gets murdered and it's up to his friends to avoid vortexes for some reason, and then getting a human princess to kiss him back to life. May I remind you, this is a series about a woodland creature that runs fast and breaks animals out of robots. Why are we setting a whole city on fire in a grim apocalyptic future? Why is Shadow out fighting terrorism? And just why is Sonic the Hedgehog being narratively pushed into a romantic relationship with a human princess? The footage you're seeing was recorded recently, and I'd forgotten just how janky and weird this game is. Every time I come back to it thinking, oh, it couldn't have been that bad, I realise, oh, yes it is. This game gets an entire point in this video because of how much of a culmination of the franchise's worst ideas it is. The awkward character switching, the far too big levels, the story so marred in its own seriousness it made Sonic and a human girl fall in love. It's infamous, and deservedly so. Sega and Sonic Team have largely learnt a lot of lessons from the Sonic 06 experience, as the series has never reached that lower point since, and oh god damn it Sega. Before we get to that, I do want to say that it wasn't long before Sega found a working formula. Sonic Unleashed, while still suffering the tediously slow Werehog sections, had the normal Sonic stages during the day, and each of these was excellent. Fast paced, lots of replay value trying to get those elusive S ranks by figuring out the optimum routes, and just flat out gorgeous to look at. Every single day stage in Sonic Unleashed feels like a modern update of what made the original Sonic games so good, with exploration encouraged just as much as speed. They carried this into Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations, and it was good. They added gimmicks that weren't terrible, like the genuinely fun Wisps in Colors, and alternate acts in Generations where the gameplay was more straightforward update of the classic formula. That's cool, keep this up. The series also adopted a goofy Saturday morning vibe in its storytelling, and while no one comes to Sonic for its story, this silly, playful way of connecting the levels together felt entirely in character for who Sonic should be, while also recognising that this is really a series about woodland animals fighting a mad scientist. The entire premise of Colors is that Eggman is making a theme park in space. It's powered by aliens he's forcing into machines like he did with animals back in the day, and now Sonic has gone up there to stop him. Cut, print, the end. Excellent. The problem is, Sega seem to not learn the lesson of keeping this up. Normally when a franchise latches onto what it's good at, it keeps going and builds on this as a foundation. Not Sonic. In 2013, the whole formula was thrown out in favour of what if Sonic, but it's Super Mario Galaxy. It wasn't awful, and certainly lessons had been learned from the previous three titles, but at the same time it had a run button. Why does Sonic have a run button? That's what he does, he runs. There shouldn't be a need for a special button. I didn't even know it was there at first until I wondered why Sonic ran so painfully slow. Since then we've seen an attempt to revive the winning formula of Generations in Sonic Forces. Now, you know very well that I've only played an hour of this, but the levels feel shorter and much more hollow than those in the predecessors, as Sega haven't learnt that multiple routes equals good, despite how consistently true this has been for the franchise's 25 years up to that point. It also decided to swing violently back into seriousness as multicoloured animals discuss a great war and how their saviour Sonic might be dead. It's so po-faced and miserable it makes me wonder who the hell decided this was the direction to take the series. Oh, and you can't make your Sonic see a ferret, which was the biggest disappointment of all. But in between that is a game that challenges Sonic 06's position as the worst Sonic game, to the point where it actually has a worse Metacritic score. I haven't actually played Sonic Boom because life is too short to play yet another bad Sonic game, but this disaster of a game was rushed out to time with a TV show, features bizarrely proportioned cast members, and everyone talks way too much. It's also got basically nothing to do with the good games that came before it. It's so bizarre to me that Sega could so effectively nail a formula across 3 games, and then promptly forget everything they did to make that work. Things have been generally quiet in the franchise since 2017, however. Sonic's most recent gaming appearances have been a sports game tied in with the Tokyo Olympics that never happened, a new racing game that wasn't quite as good as the last one, and his third appearance in Super Smash Bros. And then this happened.
Meow?
Just when it seemed like the franchise was starting to become less of a punchline, this trailer landed and... What do you say to this? A goddamn video game movie, one that learned nothing from previous failed video game movies. Sonic's an alien, there's a normal human dude, and Robotnik is Jim Carrey playing 1990s Jim Carrey. Not to mention Sonic looked like this.
The worst!
Thankfully Sonic's appearance was improved, but the other questionable elements made it into the final film. I watched that film, by the way, in the before times when we could still leave our houses as part of a self-assembled double bill with the Oscar-winning Parasite. I'm nothing if not eclectic. But what was my opinion of the film? It was fine, it wasn't great, but it also wasn't a train wreck, and I think that's kind of the problem. It limped along in such a way that it made me wonder what the point of it even was. Especially as they didn't even throw in Sonic Adventure 2's Escape from the City in a scene where Sonic runs through the streets of San Francisco, which is the movie's second biggest crime after the Olive Garden product placement. This movie is just another bizarre step in a franchise that often doesn't know what it's doing. Sega seems to struggle to stay consistent with it. While getting a team of fans to make an excellent throwback title that adheres to the quality of the classics is great, releasing it alongside another 3D game that misses the point in significant ways kind of undoes that. Maybe things might improve. It's been 3 years since we last saw a mainline Sonic title, and we're 1 year away from Sonic's 30th anniversary. It would be excellent if Sega made that anniversary count in a major way, and has spent the last 3 years trying to figure out how to do exactly that. And it shouldn't be too hard. Look at the most beloved, most successful entries in the series. Look at the formulas of the Mega Drive titles and the likes of Colors and Generations. Look at what made those games so great, and focus on mixing speed with exploration. Drop the gimmicks, drop the reliance on friends, and just make a game where a speedy rodent has gotta go fast. Sonic has had a rough few decades, with mixed levels of quality and a confused direction, which is a shame because when Sega get it right, the Sonic games are a lot of fun. But when they don't, well, I think I've already covered that. And that, my friends, is why, generally, the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise is kinda bad.